Hey YouTube, I'm the Code Pilot, and I'd like to welcome you to the first video on my channel. If you want to skip to the meat and potatoes of installing a virtual Linux environment, skip to the timestamp shown here. If you don't skip, I want to thank you for taking a little time to learn about my channel. It won't take long. I'm just a 30-somethings developer who's been doing this for 25 years, and from time to time, I watch coding videos around YouTube so that I can enhance my skills. After all, if you aren't learning at this, you're going backwards. Sometimes I watch videos on how to get started coding, just to make sure that I didn't miss anything along the way. The advice that most of the creators have is to just start building, but they don't actually show that part in the video. 20,000 views, 5,000 views, 40,000 views, thousands of subscribers, but no actual code written. I'm not going to say it's easy to be a YouTuber. It took me 20 years to create this channel, but I'm also not going to sugarcoat it. Being in IT can be extremely difficult and extremely stressful, but it's a rewarding field. I'm here to tell you that you don't need any fancy hardware. I started coding on an oldie machine almost 25 years ago with 32 megabytes of RAM, a 4.3 gigabyte hard drive, a single core, like a 300 megahertz processor, and Windows 98 and Notepad. Later, I was able to dual boot to Windows 2000 and then muster the strength and struggle through it to install FreeBSD, and it took hours and hours to compile. What you will need is the drive to succeed and the ability to overcome frustration, because development and IT in general can be very frustrating sometimes, and sometimes the answer is just trying something different. There are a lot of different projects that you can come across, and the purpose of my channel is to help you break into IT or expand upon an existing foundation that you may have. After all the years of dealing in IT and the variation of things that I've dealt with, from programming to desktop support to networking to running cabling, the truth is I have no idea what I'm doing. Sometimes. What I do know is that I have a few goals in mind with this channel. First and foremost, I want to provide a family-friendly experience. I know that there have been more than a few times where I've been watching a video on a concept or something like that, and someone will make an off-color joke, or you'll hear a four-letter word or something like that. I can assure you there's going to be none of that here. A lot of people may have their computer in the living room within earshot of their kids, or they may want to listen to this while they're in their car. So I want you to know that you're not going to hear anything from me and end up going, whoa, like you don't have to worry about that here. I also want you to encourage, if your kids look like they're STEM inclined, I want you to be able to encourage them and have them follow along with these tutorials, or follow along with them there, because a lot of kids are getting into STEM, and even though the channel name is the Code Pilot, there's so much more involved with coding. People think it's just sitting there on the keyboard and writing out a bunch of statements or writing machine code, but there are so many other things that you may have to encounter. Things like how to make a network cable. This is meant to be a family-friendly experience. That's my first and foremost goal here. I want to provide a way for users to escape Tutorialville and maybe look at some of the videos that they've learned in the past, depending on what it is, and kind of take that and grow upon it, where you have the jumping off point. You have actionable things that you can actually like pause and follow along with and see the development, and encourage you to break things and fix them, because a big part of IT, especially coding, is trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. Being able to get through that and dealing with that frustration is a huge part of this. I want to show you that you can do it. It just takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of time. You got to get little wins along the way, and once you start getting those little wins, you'll have the inspiration that it takes to move to the next level and try things and actually get out of your comfort zone. I also want to be able to share some of my knowledge, which came to me at a price of many sleep-lacking nights and often stressful nights, in the hope that I can save some people the same. There were many nights where I had to just work all night and work through it to get something done, so I'm trying to save some people some of that. Now, I can't promise any high quality production value here. I'm doing this in my free time. I spend a lot of my time actually writing code and applying my skills. Don't worry, we'll write a lot of code and break it and hopefully fix it along the way. In addition to just coding, I'm here to bring you a variety of different things, in fact. Topics like integrated development environments, how to use Windows like a power user and make it feel like you're using Windows as opposed to it using you. Linux, virtual machines, how to read error messages, what a syntax is and how to deal with that, what a Kubernetes is and why you need multiple of them. It's actually Kubernetes. What dependencies are and how to ensure that you have the right ones for your projects, how to build a PC, networking, what an API is, maybe some tool reviews, things like how to win at hide and seek against the champion since 1958, things that are going to be important if you're going to be a freelancer, like how to put together a solid contract to make sure you don't get took. Because as someone who's worked for $2 an hour in the past in a project and let feature creep get the best of me, I don't want to see that happen to other people. We can't just have people out here dying of exposure. And then some often overlooked things by freelancers, things that I even myself have overlooked in the past. Things like how to make business cards, how to make sure I have the appropriate insurance based on what I'm doing, because I mean, one lawsuit, you could be ruined. Things like how to select a hosting provider and a domain registrar so that you can have some recurring income, how to manage those accounts for your clients so that you can get them some value-added things as well. If you have something that you'd like to learn that you think I didn't touch on, please leave me a comment below. If I know it, I'll be glad to put it on my list of planned videos. And if I don't know it, it may be something that I want to learn and struggle bust myself. Thank you for taking the time to watch the intro to my channel. I really appreciate it. If you think that you might like the content that I have upcoming, please drop a like and a subscribe, and please share this with people that you know, people just like you. So along the lines of just build, let's go ahead and get started with our tutorial. We're going to need two things today. The first thing that we're going to need is the ISO for Ubuntu Linux. Now, Ubuntu is a distribution of Linux. It's not like Windows where there's just one version. There are many different variants of Linux, and Ubuntu is very common for both beginners and seasoned users. The first time I ever used Ubuntu was, I think it's something like late 2007, 2008. And I still have some instances that use it today just because it can be very quick to install and get going and configure. I will drop a link in the description below of where to get to this download page. You can go Google Ubuntu Linux. It'll be the first result that's on there, but we will need to start the download for that. The other thing that we'll need today is Oracle VirtualBox. This is going to allow us to run Linux within a virtual environment so we can play with it and not break our machine at the same time as I had to do many years ago with my first Linux experience. So I'm on a Windows host, so I'm going to go ahead and download VirtualBox. Both of our downloads are done. That's good. So I'll go ahead and start the VirtualBox installer. Now, the black screen that you see come up right now, this is the user account control. Anytime that you install something on your computer that, for example, because VirtualBox is going to do two things. Number one, it's going to be available for all users, so it requires administrative permission to run. Number two, it's going to add a virtual network driver so that the virtual machines that we install can get access to the internet and access to the network. And because it's making changes to the hardware, it's going to need access to administrative privileges. And if you don't click yes, you won't be able to install it. You will see that a lot throughout these tutorials, and that's just because a lot of things that we do are going to require administrative privileges because they are things that can cause problems if you misuse them and you don't know what you're doing. But again, I'm going to encourage you to break things. For example, I erase my computer like once a year and just start from new and get everything out of there. And I'll show you how to do that as well, how to back your stuff up and entirely erase your computer. And then you can come and save the day of your family members that have a virus or have spyware or have things like that. And you know, you could do it for free. You could charge for it if you want to, depending on which family member it is. I don't know. I can show you how to do these things, and it's not that difficult if you understand how the computer runs and how it gets affected, and that's part of the stuff that I'm going to show you here. We'll go ahead and click next on the installer. We're going to, of course, we're going to read the entire license agreement because everyone has a spare 2.5 hours for that. So accept the terms of the license agreement. Go ahead and leave all these selected. That's fine. The default installation location is fine. It will, while it's installing, disconnect you from the network. It will reconnect you automatically as well, but it has to disconnect you from the network so that it can install that virtual network driver. So go ahead and click yes to the missing dependencies for Python. I will not create a desktop shortcut. You're welcome to, but I know if you just continue allowing create a desktop shortcut, you'll just have thousands of things on there. I don't like the clutter. There's enough that I have to deal with when I go and look at customers' computers that just have thousands and thousands and thousands of things on the desktop. It amazes me that they can find files and documents, and sometimes they can't. Go ahead and hit next. We're ready to install. Go ahead and install. And we'll also go ahead and start VirtualBox. So here we are at our VirtualBox manager. There are many different options in here. You're more than welcome to click through them and see what they do. For the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and create a new virtual machine. So the first thing you have to do is give your virtual machine a name. You can name it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It should be memorable enough so that you know how to get back to it. But in this case, I'm just going to call it Ubuntu. Your VM folder, you can just leave this the default. It doesn't have to match mine. Probably won't match mine unless you have multiple hard drives, but you could just leave the VM folder as it is. For this ISO image right here, we're going to select the Ubuntu ISO that we downloaded. So go ahead and click on that. Click on Other, and on the left hand side you can click Downloads and select your ISO. Now it already knows what OS edition it is. It already knows that it's Linux and Ubuntu. For now, we're going to skip the unattended installation. I am going to go in and specify the virtual hardware. Now it will run fine with what it has put in here. Typically, if you have a machine that's built in the last probably 5 to 8 years, you should be fine to put this at like a quarter of the resources that you have available. I can even go lower than this. I can go higher, but typically a quarter of the resource is fine. And your numbers might not match what's here. They might be better. If they're better, drop a comment. I want to see what you're running down there. And then lastly, for the virtual hard disk, you can just leave that as default. That's fine. So now that we've created our virtual machine, we can go ahead and start the virtual machine. And you might want to turn your volume down. I've actually gone through this install a few times with various different issues that I'm going to show you how to get around. What you can do in this case is you can click in here, you can hit enter to bypass that countdown, and then down in the lower right hand corner, see it says right control there. That's indicating that you use the right control button on the keyboard to make the mouse escape the virtual console, because right now it's trapped. So if you use right control button, you can get your mouse back. You might want to turn your headphones down if you are running this install on, or turn your speakers down if you're running it on your computer. If you're listening to this in the car, please don't try to follow along. But if you do, turn down whatever speakers you're using while trying to install Ubuntu while driving for some reason. If you're doing that, let's go ahead and do the startup here. So now we're in our installer. If you want, you can just click out of the installer and you can just start using Ubuntu. Maybe you don't want to install it. You can go into the App Center and you can see all of the different programs that are available. If you want to do productivity, LibreOffice is a great Microsoft Office alternative. There's a mail client in here that you can use. Desktop editors, development, VS Code is in here. I use a derivative of PyCharm called IntelliJ IDEA. You could just kind of poke around in here if you want, but I do suggest going ahead and installing it. Now, full disclosure, this is my 5th time that I've tried installing this, and for whatever reason I was encountering an error. So just to kind of get through the installation so that you can see what it's like, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to take this wired and I'm going to disconnect from the wired connection. Now, if you choose to do that and go through the tutorial just to see the installation, that's great. I would also like to see if you go through it with it wired and you go through and do some of the updates and things like that. I want to see your results in the comments, because if this is part of a larger thing, you know, there's a way to provide feedback to them and let them know, hey, this is a problem and people are hitting a roadblock here. I'm going to go ahead and relaunch the installer. Startup sound again. Thank you for that. You're going to choose your language. I speak English, although sometimes not very well. If you have accessibility issues, if you have need for high contrast, if you need larger text, reducing animation may make it actually run a little bit faster. If you need screen reader support, there's support in here. If you have hearing issues, if you have typing issues, issues with the mouse, or if you need it zoomed in. I am on an English US keyboard. Yours, if you choose not to disconnect from the internet, you may have this option here for wired connection. You can turn that on, you can leave it on and see if you can get through the installer. But if you encounter an error in the installer, that's when you want to go ahead and turn that wired connection off, just so that you can get it installed. And then once it's installed, I'm going to go through the update process as well. So I will not connect to the internet for this installation. There's an update for the installer. I'm going to go ahead and skip that. I'm going to do the interactive installation as opposed to the automated. I'm going to do the default selection for now because we'll go into the App Center a little bit more in detail and how to get an update processed for it. I'm not going to install any third-party software, Wi-Fi hardware, anything like that. It's disabled this option because I'm offline. And it's actually giving me the option here because this is my second install. You will not have this top option here. You will only have the option for either manual installation or erase disk and install Ubuntu. And your erase disk and install Ubuntu will be selected by default. Now, this is not going to erase your computer hard drive and your stuff. When we created the virtual machine, it set up a file that this is going to install it in, and it needs to provision that file so that it can install Ubuntu. So we'll click next. My name is CodePilot. This name for my machine is fine. You can name it whatever you want. It will give you a username, and then I will use my super secret password that it says is weak, because it is. And I will leave the require my password to log in option checked. Some Linux variants will not even allow you to uncheck this for security reasons. If you chose another ISO besides Ubuntu, your installation process may look a little bit different, but they're all basically going to have the same options. Pick a username. Where do you want to install it? What's your time zone, which is going to be coming up here shortly. There we go. I am in the Los Angeles, America time zone. That is correct. If you are elsewhere, obviously you would choose your time zone here. Next, all of this looks correct, so we will install. And you can use these arrows down here to just kind of go through and see the different applications that you can install. You can install Spotify, you can install Telegram, a bunch of different development software. This is the one that I suggest right here, IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate. You'll see me use that almost exclusively. I've been using it for almost 10 years now. Sounds about right, maybe 9 or 10 years. It's great. You do have to pay for it, but if you use it right, or even if you don't, a lot of times that subscription will pay for itself many times over. And unlike a lot of other products and services, the price actually goes down the longer you have it. So pretty fantastic. A lot of creativity tools. Blender is used for 3D rendering, Audacity for audio. You can play games on here out of the box. They have Discord on here. Quite a few different applications that just work. I kind of go through and see the security options, some of the VPN options. Here's some of the Office options that are available. LibreOffice, you can get Microsoft Teams on here, and then just kind of the accessibility options that they have as well. So if we click on this, we can kind of see the progress of the installation. I'm pretty sure that this one is going to succeed this time just because it's not trying to get anything from the internet, so there's no way that it would fail.
A few moments later.
Kind of coming into it here is you see that it's starting to do things with Grub, which is the bootloader. That's kind of your sign that it's getting ready to boot up. There we go, installed and ready to use. So we'll go ahead and restart now, and we will move right into our Linux installation. We'll remove the installation medium and then press enter. What we'll need to do in order to do that is if we close this virtual machine and we power it off, what we'll do is we'll go to settings and we'll go to storage. It actually removed it automatically, so it should say empty here. If it does not, you will click on this and then you will click this remove attachment. Removing the attachment will remove the ISO from here. Do not remove this VDI, whatever you named your virtual machine. I named mine Ubuntu at the beginning of the install. Do not remove this. If you remove this VDI, it will not work and you will end up reinstalling Ubuntu. So, okay. And we'll go ahead and restart the virtual machine. Now, do definitely let me know in the comments if you chose to keep yours connected to the internet. Let me know if yours worked. I tried it 5 or 6 times. At first, I tried it updating the installer and then going through the installation process and it failed. And then I tried it not updating the installer and went through the process and it failed again. And the only thing that I could get it to do to work is by unchecking that wired connection. Let me know if yours worked without doing that. Here we are at our login screen. We'll go ahead and click our username and type our password. Complete your setup with additional settings. We'll be up and running. Okay, next. I am not going to enable Ubuntu Pro. I've actually never had it free for up to 5 machines. That is cool. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do a video on Ubuntu Pro. I've never used it before. I've never had a need for it. I have used Ubuntu Server in the past, but I've never gone Pro. So if you want to take a look at it, let me know and we'll see if we can put something together for that. Or, you know what, honestly, go ahead and enable it and see what happens. You can have one virtual machine that doesn't have it, one virtual machine that does, and then you can kind of see what the differences are. So we'll skip that. Help improve Ubuntu? Sure, why not? Get started with more applications? Okay, let's go ahead and open the App Center. At this point, I'm going to check and see, can we get updates from here? Manage. Oh, there are some updates available. So we will go ahead and update all of these and it will ask for our password. Now this is kind of like the Windows user account control feature, except it makes you put in your password. So it's going to stop unauthorized people if you get up and you just walk away and leave it unlocked, which you shouldn't really do. But if you do that, this will stop people from tinkering with your machine once they get in. So we'll go ahead and authenticate and let these updates run. And if you want to go ahead and tinker in here a little bit more, we can finish this and you can right click the desktop. You can change your background if you want. You can go into display settings and you can change your resolution if you want. I mean, I could go like 1920 by 1080 and that will make VirtualBox itself a little bit bigger. You can go into appearance and much like on Windows, you can change your highlight color, for example. You can change your desktop background. I always like dark mode in everything I do. I do a lot of programming at night and I just don't like being blasted by super bright things. I wish everything was dark screened. It's just easier on the eyes. It's easier to read. And the other thing is light attracts bugs. So the more dark mode can be integrated, the better off I personally think it would be. But you can go in and you can tinker with your sound output devices. You can change the size of the desktop, positions of the icons. We can move the dock, which is this thing over here. We can move that to the bottom so it feels like it's a little bit more at home. We can change the behavior and put network volumes, network attachments, things like that. We can make it a little bit smaller. Oh, that's the desktop icons normal. Icon size, you can make the icons way small if you want. You can make them larger if you want. A lot of different options in here. And we can see in our App Center, take a look at our update status. This over here is kind of like your start menu. You can see the apps there. And then this will take you back to, oh, this is like your search option. And this is like your task manager up here. So we'll go back to the App Center that we were in. Our updates are complete. That's good. And then the last thing I want to do, actually I want to make this a little bit bigger so I can see the full screen here. Yep, so this has been updated. Just honestly from here, just play with it. Go install some apps, check out LibreOffice, see if you can break it. There are some things that you could do. You could go in here and mess around in the terminal and you can Google some commands and you can break this without actually breaking your whole computer in the process. So that's all I got on this video. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you. And I really appreciate your like and subscribe as well. Drop a comment if you have any questions or something that you thought that I could have done better. That's all I got for today. Okay, bye.